Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday, 10:52 a.m. California time here, 12/12/2024. Some interesting dates there. Latest activity here on the earthquake 3D globe shows a 3.1 here around the Sumatra area. There in the red flag. Also a little 1.0 earthquake across Southern California in the green flag. So let's go ahead and check out Southern California, see what's going on down here this morning. See if we got any elevated activity. This is a look at the 2.5 map and above. Not a whole lot of earthquakes here on the map. I guess, two of them compared to yesterday wasn't a whole lot. One 2.6 there near the Pinnacles area. That's along the San Andreas Fault here. Also 2.7 much further south here of the border. When you mix in all the microquake activity here, looks about average here compared to any other day there in Southern California. Really no major swarming going on here. No unusual activity to note there across the southern portion of the state for now. Still seeing some aftershock sequences there in Nevada with a couple more ones and twos this morning, bringing up the total tally of earthquakes here following that 5.8 a couple days ago to 269 earthquakes. Pretty decent number. Looks like things are starting to drop off a little bit in terms of the multitude of counts there. Over here across Northern California, still seeing some movement as well. And as I've said in my previous videos here, I don't believe they're reporting anything below the 2.5 threshold here. They may throw in a 1 on occasion. This is from yesterday. But I've been watching these charts a lot. Been seeing little earthquakes such as that come in there to the Petrolia station. That's probably, I'm guessing, maybe a 1.3 that is not showing up on the nearby Dinsmore station, which is a little bit further from the Petrolia area. But still, that's a legit earthquake. That's what an earthquake will look like on a seismograph station. Very localized to the Petrolia area. And it's a small earthquake, but it's an earthquake nonetheless. So I see these popping up, if not a couple times an hour, a few times an hour, and nothing gets reported out here. So the last earthquake, as you can see, literally from like 2 hours ago. So when I say that they haven't been reporting all the earthquakes, I'm serious. I pointed out time and time again here. Why they're not reporting the smaller ones, I don't know. But what they are reporting today, number of 2s and 3s in there still. Some from yesterday, a little bit from today. So continuing to keep an eye here across the California region, as we really haven't seen any major adjustment out here across the Western Pacific. Just kind of a little bit of uptick here yesterday and late last night across the Tonga area southward. Still a little uncertain here about this region on if we're going to see further significant movement. It's definitely on my watch list here. Across the Alaska area, still seeing some activity. Although this one from yesterday here looks like a 4-pointer. Nothing else being reported there across the region. And again, they may not be reporting all the smaller quakes there across that area. A little bit of slight uptick here across the, close to the Old Harbor area. South of Kodiak, Alaska up here. 4.2 earthquake this morning. Prior to that, looks like actually, after that, a 2.7. Prior to the 4-pointer, a 2.5. So we got a little sequence of events here happening in a linear fashion. That tells me right here that the subduction zone is starting to get active there across that portion of the Aleutian Trench. And if I recall right, well, I think that 8-pointer here a few years back was a little bit down along this area. So activity still continuing, but at lower levels today. As I noted, there's not a whole lot going on here across the Western Pacific. The EMSC model showing a couple smaller quakes here around the Japan area today. Looks like an upper 3 and a couple low-grade 4s. But overall, that's still fairly quiet across this area of the plate boundary. And it's been that way since about, since we had that 7-pointer out here in Northern California. So that's why I still think that we got some further adjustment. Either it's going to be the Western Pacific over here with some larger movement, or perhaps here across the Eastern Pacific there, including California, maybe the Aleutian Trench here for some larger activity. I don't think we're done with that yet. I think we're just starting to fill in a little bit with this most recent earthquake activity in between these two active areas. You know, we had a bunch of sixes up here in the last week. California, of course, rocking and rolling. That kind of puts a middle point here in between the plate boundary. And yes, there's considerable distance between these two locations, but in geology terms here, that's literally just, you draw a little line here and that's it. All these are connected. Even though it might seem like a long distance for us humans here, it's really not in terms of the plate tectonics out here. So we'll continue to watch this area. Definitely not over. Inland, let's see what we got around the Hebgen Lake Estates area. Some very small earthquake activity. Nothing showing up there across Yellowstone, but I just want to double check here real quick. I'll get to volcano activity here in a little bit. I was checking the number of volcanoes out there today, but I want to check Yellowstone right now. Looks like some kind of reading there showing up on the seismograph station here within the last half hour. Let's see where that's at. None of these quakes. And not that earthquake there. Which one is that coming off of here? What's kicked up here in decent scale in the last half hour or so? Nothing. Nothing of worldwide activity. What's this down here? 4.3, 117 miles deep into the underneath the Columbia area. That's a pretty deep earthquake there in the subduction zone. That stirred up here within the last hour, but see the reading I'm looking at is this area right here. That showed up on Purple Mountain, Mary Lake, the Promontory, Parker Peak. To me, it looks like it's a distant event, not a localized event here, but I don't know. I'm not 100% certain that's at 4.3 that's showing up, thousands of miles away. Now, a 6-pointer will, but I don't think a 4.3 will. It's either that or maybe some deeper events underneath this area here that have not been accounted for yet by the USGS. But there is definitely a little interesting reading there across the Yellowstone area. I'll keep an eye on that and report back on any information I find on that. Texas oil fields, a couple 2s out there, some 3s outside of Snyder, Texas. That, of course, is a massive oil field area. New Madrid seismic zone, one more earthquake here this morning, a little 1.6, continuing to bring up the total tally here in the last week to about 11 earthquakes there across the area of New Madrid seismic zone. The month, last 30 days, up to 31 earthquakes now. A couple 2s, even some 3s in there. Starting to light up out here a little bit more than normal. I don't think we're going to see anything significant here, but you just never know. I mean, it's an active area that's seen a series of large earthquakes back in the 1811, 1812 time period. Talking about mid to upper 7s, a sequence of them. So there's over 200 years that have passed since those large events, depending on the slip rate out here. It, could be coming up. Got to watch out for, further elevated activity here. It's just a sign here that that fault system is very much alive and will produce some big earthquakes in the future. 2.3, Greenback, Tennessee, earlier this morning. Roughly about, a few minutes prior to the 1.6 here in the New Madrid seismic zone. So a little bit of adjustment out here across the eastern portion of the country. Nothing big going on there for now. Go ahead and check on the earthquake 3D globe here. There's a lot of activity there from yesterday, some 5s, some deeper activity as well into the subduction zone of the Kermadec Trench and the Tonga Trench area. Typical plate boundary movement. When we see activity out here across this area of the plate boundary, strain normally follows this area here along the plate boundary to the west. One newer event from this morning, a 5.2 within that little quiet zone. Nothing big for now. New Zealand down there, a little 3.2 across North Island. I think let's go check here real quick, see what we got. Timothy here was saying there was some type of swarm around the Taupo super volcano. That may have been in the last couple days, though. Couple twos there outside that area. Let me go over here to the volcano drum, see what we have across the Taupo area. It's not a whole lot showing up. It looks like most of the activity there is from maybe the last couple days, but north of that region, I think. A couple very small earthquakes out there, but I don't see anything of any major interest out there for now. The Taupo supervolcano has been active. They had a decent swarm here a few months back. Actually, it may have been a year ago now. Time's just flying by when you're having fun. All right, let's go ahead and check out the rest of the globe here. Typical crunch zone activity here across the Philippines area southward. Nothing new here. That's just very common to see on any given day. There's this activity up here across the Japan region, but really there's not a whole lot of significant movement here. Still keeping an eye, again, as I noted, across the northern Pacific here, and of course the west coast of the states. For the Middle America Trench, got some smaller earthquake activity there. Nothing big. Handful of volcanoes out there in the eruptive stage. South America here has got quite a few fours stirring up and some threes. Again, it looks elevated here, but a lot of that's from yesterday, and it is a major subduction zone, the Peru-Chile Trench here. So it's very common to see movement like that. I guess the newer notable activity is going to be this deeper quake activity here underneath Colombia. Handful of quakes there in the 3 and 4 range across the Puerto Rico Trench. This area has been getting the squeeze put on it here recently. Last 30 days shows us a little bit more of that movement here across the Puerto Rico Trench area. Pretty good cluster going on right here. Nothing big going on there for now, but that's another area that can see some big earthquakes. The Atlantic Ocean, absolutely quiet. Rest of the world, as you can see out here, fairly minimal. This is the EMSC model here showing some of the earthquake activity out around the Middle East and the Mediterranean region, which looks, active, but really not all that super active. We've got a couple 3s and 4s in there, but that could be common on any given day as well. Nothing of abnormal activity to note there for now. Let's give a quick glance here at the space weather activity. Another M flare it looks like this morning on the solar X-ray chart here. Little small M flare left roughly around 2.24. That not 100% certain which spot that's coming off of there, but let's check out the UV filter array. Could be from this area, maybe off on the eastern limb as well. I'm missing our SDO imagery here. I'm hoping to get it back. Can't really tell all that much in terms of complexity of the sunspots. Just, even this image here, which shows an inverted image of the sunspot complexity, is still offline from the 26th of last month. So for now, overall, wow, look at that beautiful stretch of plasma there off the southeastern limb. Overall flare threat right now, somewhat minimal, 5% chance for X flare, M flare at 60, C flare around 99% chance or so. Nothing major there in the Aurora forecast for now. Look at the USGS monitored volcanoes out here. Still shows the Great Sitka volcano up along the Aleutian Trench as a watch status. It's been having some periodic episodes up there off and on for quite a while. I guess the newest one's going to be this Mount Spur volcano up here in the Aleutian Trench, or the Alaska area, away from the Aleutian Trench. Number of small earthquakes around the area of Spur, has been raised up to a yellow advisory. The current activity as of yesterday here from the AVO, unrest continues there at Mount Spur. Small, shallow earthquakes underneath the summit region continue at a low rate. No activity was observed in cloudy webcam and satellite views over the past day. And of course, they mentioned here that if the volcano is getting closer to an eruption, based on previous eruptions, we'll see elevated earthquake activity, ground deformation, and whatnot before any breakthrough to the surface there in terms of an eruption, that volcano. But right now, they're just kind of watching it, keeping an eye on it. There's a number of those earthquakes out there. And here's some of the eruption volcanoes out there currently in eruption state. As I mentioned there, across the Middle America Trench, this area is almost always active out here in terms of almost continuous eruption activity. This site right here, the volcano. Let me go back here. Volcano Discovery is a neat little site to check out the current ongoing eruptions here. They got fairly comprehensive database of volcanoes. I like to check this out on occasion here to see all these previous volcanoes in eruptive stage, whether it's recent or thousands of years ago. They got a different layout here, I'm sure. But yeah, anyway, volcano news, definitely could check that out. They give the latest information here on worldwide volcano news and updates and whatnot. I normally don't cover a whole lot of volcanic activity unless it's something of, volcano activity that's come up out of the blue. That's something that's not normal. Something that's been quiet for a little while. But along the Peru-Chile Trench, Philippines area, Indonesia Islands, Middle America Trench, those are almost always erupting all year. So really nothing of any abnormal news there. If you start stirring up the Cascade volcanoes, yeah, that's going to be a little bit more detailed studies there. Speaking of that, let's go see what's going on there at the Kilauea volcano on the Big Island. It's been it's had a couple small episodes, eruptive episodes this year. The latest one back over along the Middle East Rift Zone here, where this little pink salmon color area is. Back in September of this year, we had a small little eruption. Since then, just kind of watching the deformation data here underneath this volcano. Been going up and down a little bit. Right now, in the past week or so, there's a little bit of deflationary event or stationary. This is the past month right here. Notice the little bit of uptick and then leveling off. We're still at a fairly heightened zone here compared to our last eruption there in September. We pretty much matched that on the graph here in terms of inflation. So just kind of keeping an eye on it. If something's going to happen, I think it'll happen soon. But right now I'm not seeing anything that would lead me to believe that there's any type of eruptive activity out here. As with any volcano, right, we're going to see elevated seismic activity. There's nothing going on out there across the Kilauea volcano for now. It's super quiet. They're listing, about 15 earthquakes out here. Most of that's going to be in the deeper regions underneath the Big Island here. Let's see, another glance here at Southern California. A little earthquake right on the San Andreas Fault here, the southern segment. Little 0.9, nothing big. We'll definitely continue to watch this area. As I noted last night here on the Tremor map, that's still elevated out here. 321 epicenters of tremor, mainly at the southern end of the Cascadia. Excuse me. And it's been that way, like I say, off and on here in the last 30 days, leading to the elevated earthquake activity offshore here. A lot of elevated movement here across the West Coast recently. So I don't think we're done yet. We'll check out the Tremor map a little bit later on this evening once it comes in, but Still continuing to keep an eye on things out here, folks. China Lake, that's down there around Southern California. Little earthquake coming in. I don't know if it's going to be this one. No, that's a little bit older. Nothing big. It's just a little small, distant looking earthquake there from that seismograph station. So we'll continue to watch things, see how it plays out. We picked up just over an inch of rain overnight. I wasn't really expecting that much, but it rained pretty good this morning, or last night, and into early morning. Nothing major going on here for the severe weather. Let's go ahead and check out the numerical models here. Here's the West Coast storm. Dropping some rain out here on my head. I appreciate it. Definitely looking forward to the next storm already, which will be here tomorrow and into Saturday. A little bit stronger system. Look at those rainfall rates out there. Could see another couple inches here from this storm system alone. And then back behind that, it looks like there's some lingering showers and maybe another storm there to start off next week. So I'm definitely a happy guy. Hopefully that stays wet out here. We definitely need it. Aside from that, got a bunch of colder air coming back down here across the area of the eastern portion of the country. Look at some of these departures from normal. That'll be around the 20th, 21st time period. I'm talking about maybe 20 degrees departure from average. That's cold. A lot of colder air sinking down here. A little bit of ridging being built out here across the west coast. That's not good. Of course, that's where I'm at. So a mixed bag of stuff as we enter into the end of December here for Christmas time period. It's a little ways out, so we'll have to cover that back once we get a little bit closer to that time period. Quick glance here at any close approach asteroids here. I think we're pretty well safe, but let's just take a look here. This is going to be the 12th. 28-foot bus-size asteroid here, 478,000 miles. It's close, but not super close. It's considerably safe. The rest of these are well over a couple million miles away from Earth, so at least that's the ones that are being monitored here. Aside from that, folks, hope everyone has a good day. We'll continue to keep an eye on the earthquake activity out here. Like I say, I don't think we're done yet with the movement out here across the west coast, the Aleutian Trench area. A lot going on, and I've seen it a number of times here when things get to this point. A lot of elevated activity out here across the eastern Pacific and the northern Pacific as well. When that happens, we obviously see the chances of bigger quakes out here. Unless we see a mega quake out here across this region, then it tends to temporarily relieve strain out here in terms of any large-scale potential. But we'll definitely watch that here throughout the day today. Have a good one, and we'll see you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening unless something major happens. Enjoy your Thursday.